Welcome everybody to Alder Dragway on BeamNG.drive's West Coast USA. If you're someone that has spent any amount of time playing here over the years, you know that as a functioning drag strip, sometimes it, well, doesn't. Thankfully, that's no longer the case, for the moment, as the devs have gifted us with a mostly functioning racetrack to test and build at to our heart's delight. Instead of going through car selections and loading screens anytime you want to put a time on the boards, now you simply need to stage up, wait for the lights, and go. I've taken advantage of this recently when I shook down 15 of my quickest cars in the game that do not make the use of any of the game mods to determine how quick each of them were compared to each other. Today things are going to be considerably quicker and faster. Because I'm bringing out the mods and taking out 10 of my quickest Super Charged Outlaws to lay down some 5-second passes and find out here today how each of them really stack up with each other. The last time I had these cars out on a drag strip was at the Freedom Factory's Bradenton Motorsports Park. While there, we've seen some pretty unreal and surprising performances, and I suspect much of that came down to the less than reliable timing system at that track. At the newly improved Alder Dragway, as long as you don't launch before the green, turning on the red, the time you see on the boards should be much more accurate and not affected by a late launch. Because of that, as well as having a much smoother surface start to finish, today we're shaking down my top 10 Super Charged Outlaws to find out where they stand as they currently are, and if any of them are able to eclipse the official class record of 5.559 set by the twin-turbo Blue Buck almost 2 years ago. If you enjoy this, hit that thumbs up. If this is the sort of stuff you're into, subscribe to the channel for more. If you're trying this stuff for yourself, let me know in the comments how it goes. If you want to give these cars a try, you can. Most all of the builds, tune-ups, and mod information is the same as one featured in the Super Charged Bradenton episode and can be found there. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. We'll start things off with the slowest vehicle of the day, and something a little different. This is the Gavl RoR. I've only ever featured the RoR on this channel once before, and on that occasion, in ambulance form. That video is getting close to 2 years old now, and I really haven't spent any amount of time on the RoR since. I've included it here, really, just to make this an even 10 car list. I'll tell you straight up, this will be a long way from running as well as it probably should, and nowhere close to running as quick and fast as the cars that will follow. So, for Shifts and Giggles, let's see what we can do with a barely tuned supercharged Gavl RoR. Fighting for grip, the RoR puts up a 6.750 at 216 miles per hour to start things off today. Ninth quickest and coming out next will be the RoR's little bro. This is the Gavl DSeries. Of all the supercharged Outlaws I've built, this has almost always been the slowest of the bunch, weighing in slightly more than a tank, finding the right combinations of frame and box lengths to suit the grip and power levels, finally resulted in the D-Series putting up a 5.964 at 253 miles per hour the last time I had it out at Bradenton Motorsports Park. Alder Dragway here, however, has something Bradenton does not. That's a smooth surface, wall to wall, start to finish, with a lot less bouncy and shimmying going on down track. Most of the cars here today should be able to put up some good numbers. Gavl DSeries goes deep in the fives, running a 5.823 at 262 miles per hour. That is by far the best pass yet for the pickup truck, and I suspect there's more in it. Our 8th quickest car of the day, the next car out is one that, were this real, would be slightly less survivable than a firing squad. This is the Burnside Special. One thing this car does well is demonstrate that 1940s aerodynamics work well enough at 1940 speeds. With 4,500 horsepower in 2024, not so much, with every pass having a high likelihood of ending in disaster. When I am able to finesse it all the way through the quarter mile, the Burnside is fully capable of running deep in the fives, having run a 568 at 260 miles per hour last time out in Bradenton. The Burnside Special lays down a 5.772 at 262 miles per hour. Here's the charter member of the Ugly Wing Club, 7th quickest here today. This is the ETK I Series. When this car was originally built, the K Series had a sort of built-in stability control that would prevent the car from wheeling and properly transferring its weight onto the rear tires. Without the addition of the Ugly Wing, this car was virtually undrivable past 60 feet. That issue was fixed with a game update some time ago, and now the K Series works much like the rest of the cars here today. All of the cars here today benefit from the use of a customizable torque converter that comes as part of one of the game mods, except for the K Series. With them, I'm able to control the launches and the amount of power and torque being applied, resulting in ever quicker cars as I've learned some of the tricks needed to do that. Without one, the K Series will launch at a much higher RPM than the other cars and never really gets all of its powers to the tires and track like it should. That didn't stop it from putting up a 5.565 258 mile per hour run on the questionable scoreboards of Bradenton Motorsports Park. ETK I Series lays down a 5.678 at 260.82 miles per hour here today at the more accurately timed Alder Dragway. Next out is the former badass of the channel, and now only 6th quickest. This is the Moonhawk, usually the fastest of the modded cars on this channel in whatever power combination was being used at the time. With the unreliability of the West Coast drag strip over time through many game updates, most of the testing and stuff since then has been on the much bumpier Bradenton Motorsports Park. As a consequence of that, I was forced to detune the Moonhawk some just to make A to B passes. As a result, at least until I'm able to retune it again for the smooth track, the Moonhawk is no longer the badass it was. It did run a 5.650 last time out on the questionable Bradenton clocks at just 245 miles per hour. Badass runs at 5.619 at 255.23 miles per hour. I'm gonna have to work on that. Fifth quickest coming out next is the SS Bluebuck, known as the Gavl Bluebuck. This boat was quite a challenge to figure out. While its 1960s aerodynamics are much improved over the Burnside Special, and it is somewhat stable as it runs down the track, figuring that out was not easy to do. This car, more than any other, just feels like it's trying to rip itself apart at all times, whether it's actually moving or not. Still, it is capable of some pretty decent numbers and does reach the finish line more times than not, having run a 5.549 at 250 miles per hour last time on the strip in Bradenton. The SS Bluebuck lays down a respectable 5.607 at 267 miles per hour. Besides being the quickest so far, that's also the fastest by almost 5 miles per hour. One that I consider a bit of a sleeper, the fourth quickest car here today. This is the Gavl Grand Marshal. Slicks, wheelie bars, and a supercharger poking out of the hood aside, you might not think much of this car by looking at it, but the fact that we're seeing it more than halfway through this video should tell you that it makes for a very capable hot rod. Getting to this point with a Grand Marshal was a bit of a chore. When you start adding tons of power to these cars, a lot of them no longer really feel like going straight anymore. And this car, more than most, took a lot of time to straighten out again. And that works pretty well, and it's one of my favorite cars to watch run down the track in BeamNG because it almost looks real sometimes. On Bradenton's iffy clocks, the Grand Marshal laid down a 5.507 at over 274 miles per hour. We'll see how close that was to legit. grand marshal was a 5.570 at 275.85 miles per hour. That speed is impressive, and it's what we'll be seeing more of in the remaining cars. Coming to the podium cars of the episode, the third quickest car today here is the GavBarsto, one of the cooler looking cars on this list. It's also one of the better running, and at the moment, one of the most reliable. Like most of the cars, this wasn't necessarily easy to get tamed to going straight, but now that I have, aborted passes are pretty rare. The Barsto has come a long way, and the last time on the strip at Bradenton, Barsto laid down a 5.483 at 274 miles per hour. The mile per hour is likely legit. The elapsed time, I'm not so sure, which of course is the whole point of bringing these things out again. Let's see what it's got here today. GavBarsto runs a new class record 5.552 at 276.41 miles per hour. That's going to be eclipsed by each of the two remaining cars to follow, but it shows how good the Barsto actually is. The second quickest car of the episode, this is the Bastion. This may come as a bit of a surprise, as this has been one of the best cars on the channel at times, and we will see another class record on this pass, but it's possible that this car as is actually works better at the moment on the bumpier Bradenton Motorsports Park surface than here at the pool table smooth Alder Dragway, where last time out it was the quickest of all at an unreal and questionable 5.350 at 279 miles per hour. It's not like it's slow by any means, just a little disappointing perhaps after showing so much potential previously. Bastion lowers a class record to a 5.535 at 277 miles per hour. Quite a bit slower than his Bradenton pass, but likely more legit. The final and quickest car of the episode, this is the ETK I Series. This car tops the list in large part, I think, because it's the only car here today that has seen some tuning adjustments since the last time it hit the strip. With Alder Dragway being so much smoother than Bradenton where it last ran, I was forced to increase the wheelie bar angle just a little bit for this pass here today, or the car has zero chance of making it to the finish line. Being so small and light, the I Series almost has too much grip at times, and the challenge is to get the front tires to contact the ground enough on a pass that it might become somewhat possible to influence its direction of travel. Failing that, you're launching a many thousand horsepower wheel stander without the benefit of having any way of even knowing where you are on the track, let alone control. With the wheelie bar set very low, I give you the quickest official run in the entire class to date. ETK I Series busting into the 40s, laying down a 5.471 at 277.08 miles per hour. That was a nice pass. That's going to wrap things up here today. As always, thank you all for watching. Until next time, keep it in your own damn lane.